Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. One of the major reasons I cited for wanting to create version 6 was that I wished to improve the support for mods, or rather items that were added by mods. And I have managed to do so by replacing the databanks of version 5. Wait, this is the version 6, there's version 5. By replacing the hard-coded databanks with all the items in the game sorted by stack size with and these were everywhere that they were needed, right? So if you had items that were added by mods, you actually needed to go to every single position that you had them in the game and manually add them yourself, right? I mean, you only needed to do to update the constant combinator once and then go and copy that everywhere, but you still needed to copy that everywhere. But I've taken care of that this time. So what you have instead is anywhere that those databanks are required, I've added a memory cell. And this memory cell, here's a nicer example that's more visible. This memory cell requests the information from a central source, which you adjust once with a script. And then that's it. You don't need to care about it anymore, right? So the way that works is you have a couple. So in the blueprint book, you'll find them under the header global. You have different kinds of memories, right? These this is blinking because the memory is empty at this time, right? As long as they are empty, they keep requesting the information that they want to be filled up with. And I have one that just is for the items, and I have one that's for the virtual signals, and the one over here that's for all of it, right? And the differentiation is specifically the address of them. So items have an address of 10,000, whereas the virtual signal ones use the address 9,999. The same over here. And the other difference too, so this is items and this is virtual signals, is a slight difference on the handling of exceptions. So this is very important. You need to know what signals you need to add to the exceptions. And that is, first of all, of course, the signals that are used by memories and by addresses themselves. So if I look into this, gray, for example, is an exception because that is an address, right? So it can't be used it can't be sent across the global network. Whoops. Hello? There you go. It can't be sent across the global network in an attempt to save information to this memory cell, thereby activating itself, right? And to populate the memory, you have these providers. So two different kinds of providers. One that's for items and one that's for virtual signals. There you go. Let's hook them together. So as we can see, these guys are all requesting information. And let's actually interrupt that for a second. And this goes out on the green wire. And why it's the green wire is important. Because on my global network, the way it works is that the red wire is curated and the green wire is anything goes. Curated means simply that the information sent on the red wire is checked for collision, and if a collision happened, the package is not accepted, right? The information is not accepted, and instead the sending units have to try transmission again. So all these memories are currently empty. Therefore, their parties are requesting it. And you can see that every time they send a request for it, these guys start blinking, right? If I slow down time, here the green lamps means there was no a collision, so it counts the current transmission as succeeded. And we have the same over here. But once we are requesting more information again, yellow means that these guys collided, so they will try again until they succeed. There we go, success, right? They have varying delays, and depending on how many collisions are in a row, the longer the delay gets. Okay. And they will keep doing that. They will requesting this and the information that these guys have until the memory is populated, right? And if I stop time and I will connect, there we go. Let's connect the wire. Please look on the right side of the screen when I enable it again. There you go. We got our information, and we even got it the right way around. So if you remember, 9,999 is for virtual signals, and we do indeed have virtual signals here. 10,000 is for items, and we do indeed have item signals here. And yeah, the list is too long, so you can't see for yourself, but virtual signals are excluded here. They're not part of it. And over here in this memory, we actually have both. On the upper side with the 9,999, the virtual signals, and down here the item signals, right? So, and this is where the whole address part comes in. This is where it's important. Here, I'm sorry, wrong constant combinator. Here. These are all signals I've excluded from the transmission for two reasons. Either they are being used down here by the transmission control, right? And if they were used, it would cause all kinds of issues with other transmission control units across the global network. So they cannot be part of the transmission. The info signal is also used here. Also, this is from the green incoming wire, so you could probably not have this and it would still work. However, it is in here, so just to avoid confusion, I have excluded it. Whoops. I have excluded it. There you go. Right. So it's either being used in here or it's being used as an address, which is the case for the white and the gray signal. The gray signal is used by your player depot as an address, as well as various kinds of memories. And the white signal is unique to the train for the outpost supply maintenance, right? If they are not using this combinator excluded from the entire setup, what happens is that the wrong information will be saved in the memory of the wagon. So this is the memory of the loadout that you want in this wagon, right? And if the white was not being excluded down there, you would instead get it would instead think that it should save the data when the information for all right, let me show you here to avoid this confusion. Save, pause time, give this an item to work with. Let's see the transmission over here on the right side. You can see what's in the transmission. So we have all the virtual signals, including the black, which is the control frame. So I might have excluded this up here, right? But the reason why it is still present is because it has to be there as the collision check. If it has not a value of 1, it will count as having collided with the transmission of maybe this unit over here, or just any other transmitter unit that tried to transmit on the same tick, right? So the black one you see is not the black here from your data bank. It is the black from the system itself as the collision check. So this cannot be part of any data bank anywhere you save, right? That would cause issues. The gray you see is the address, right? That's the address required. It's set over here. The address that this data packet is supposed to be sent to. And it is supposed to be sent to 9,999, which is the address of the memory bank's dedicated to virtual signals, right? So if you wanted to change that, if you don't actually like this number or you're already using it for some reason, you'd prefer to change this because it's a new system to you or something, rather than something you're already used to, then you would have to also change this number here to a different address, right? So that's the gray and the black explained. And all the other colors and signals are those that are in here, and that would include any modded items. And that's the next part that I'm showing you. How do I add items on signals that have been added by mods, right? So the first thing you need is to prepare constant combinators. Well, let's just do one for now. We only need the one. So what we do is we get the scripts, of which you will find the links in the description, right? And the first one for the items is one that I wrote myself. And what you do is you simply copy the script from the link I gave you. You might want to read this. There is some information here that could be interesting to you. You go into the game, you mouse over the constant combinator that you've prepared. This is important so that the script has a coordinate to start from, right? And you simply paste that into the chat, and while mousing over, you hit enter, and you'll be greeted by this line, new line of constant combinators, right? Don't need the first one, but this one you do need. So what do we do now? Well, we have our items here, right? And all we need to do is copy this over, right? And right, I should probably first explain here. This is sorted by stack sizes. So we start with stack size items 1, with items with stack size 1, and you can see that if you hit F5 to toggle into your debug mode, you mouse over an item, you can see item stack size 1, right? Sorry. And then over here, this combinator tells me we are starting on the next stack size. So in this combinator, we'll start with items with stack size 5. Small warning over here, there are some items that have 2 item stack sizes in the debug info. For example, here's a 1 and a 5, right? 1 at the top, and halfway down there's another with the 5. I'm not 100% sure why this one tracks the artillery wagon cannon itself as well with a stack size of 1, unless it's probably something to do with the game. So you need to look which one is interesting to you. In this case, it's the one for the artillery wagon, not the artillery wagon cannon, right? Okay. So this was item stack size 1. Then over here we have item stack size 5, right? And then 10. Just copy paste that over. And 20. And all of these are 50. Right? And then over here we have 100. And this is where it gets slightly more interesting. And here I should show you. So you could already see it over here too. The script does indeed add all items added by mods, right? You can see here text plates, those are not in the vanilla game. I'm sorry, in the vanilla game. Same over here with the Nixie tubes, right? Those were not part of the vanilla game. They've been added by the script just now. And I simply take those combinators and I move it over here. And since we've added a third combinator here, we need to make sure that we wire this up, right? And then we have, this was 100, right? And then we have 200. And the final one is just one item, so that hasn't changed, right? And we're done with the items. This you only need to do once at the start of the game if you have added any mods, right, that add items. And if during your play you also add mods that add items, then you might want to do it again. But generally speaking, you only need to do it once per game. and then anytime a memory, you add a new memory that requests to be updated, that requests to receive the memory the data is supposed to memorize, you need to it'll request this data. However, the memories that you've placed before, they will not have the data. Let's take an example here. I'm gonna do the same with this one, but this is just for visual signals. If you look at my game, here, I have a bunch of unique signals here that don't exist in vanilla, right? This is, I believe, pick up push button maybe, or Nixie tubes. All right, Nixie tubes apparently. That's fine. But anyway, these don't exist in my combinators here, right? Why might that be? Well, because they're not part of vanilla. All right, so what I'm gonna do is, once again, I'm gonna prepare a coordinate. I'm gonna get the other script this time, right, from this GitHub. This one I did not write myself. This is the one where I basically used to set up my own. I improved on it though. For example, here it is basically hard coded for the constant combinators of vanilla, right? My script, if it works correctly, I have not tested this part, but if it works correctly, it basically should work with any constant combinator equivalent that a mod might have added. So if you play with a mod that adds constant combinators with a much bigger grid, for example, you ought to be able to use one of those as well, just by taking the initial constant combinator that is not vanilla, that would be your modded constant combinator, and using that as the target, you'd be able to use those. But this script from GitHub that was not made by me, sadly hasn't been adjusted for anything but the vanilla constant combinators. So you go here, you take this back into the game, mouse over, paste, and delete everything you don't need, right? However, there is a problem here, and as you might have already noticed, these guys don't come with a value of 1, right? No worries though, you don't have to do this manually. All you have to do is look at the script and find in your chat, when you paste it in, this particular line here, right? This is the signal that is being added to the constant combinator, and this is the value it is being added with. So basically what you do is, once again, copy into the chat and then use your arrow keys, control arrow keys, to find the correct spot. There we go. Signal sig count +1, and then delete everything but the 1. And here we go. All the signals added with a value of 1, right? This is what we wanted. And once again, remove everything but the signals. And we add this over here. Voila. There you go. Right. Now the issue is, if you go over here, you can see, whoops, this hasn't updated yet. If you have in any way, shape or form created one of these memories before you have updated your data banks, you need to use this inserter to make it to force the update, right? And if we mouse over this now, let's see if the information is coming. Nope, we weren't fast enough this time because this one had already picked up the item. We'll just turn it around. There we go, it's picked up the item. And we should see, there we go. Can you see that the signals added by the Nixie Tubes mod are now in your memory as well, right? And that's how you go updating your your data banks, and you only need to do this centrally in one spot. So what I tend to do is I put them somewhere in my depot, right? And I can just add constant combinators as I need them. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that helped you. And if you have any issues with these scripts, please don't hesitate to either leave a comment on the video, or if you want, you can go to my Reddit and ask here, and I'll try and solve the issue with you. All right. Have fun.